here to answer what he doesn't tell you. A great start to that feature, Mrs. M. It is 1 minute past 9, so it'll be
We need to
rude.
get João on, don't
We
we?
need to get João on for sure. Let's give him a nice round of applause and bring him onto the screen. Woo! All right. João, good
Morning, João.
morning. How are you? Tudo bem? Oh,
Can't hear you.
Oh, we need you to unmute there, João. There we
Thank
go.
you so much. Thank you so much. That was a grand opening. Thank you. Now you can hear, right?
We love a grand opening first thing in the morning.
Yeah, let's go.
Mushmore, we're talking. I think I saw you commenting on social media somewhere about sustainability. That is exactly what you're about. That's what your company stands for. I think that's what you, as a human being, stand for in life, is addressing sustainability in a very meaningful way here in Portugal. The word gets bandied about quite a lot, doesn't it? Especially by politicians and greenwashers. Sustainability. It's one of the all the good words get kind of undermined, don't they? Politically, I would say. But it sounds to me like you're doing amazing work. Could you tell us more about yourself by way of introduction?
Okay, so I'm João Oliveira, and I'm the founder of Mushmore Cooperative. Then Mushmore Cooperative, after the big fires in 2017, created a brand called Ecolução. It's Ecolution, okay, so it's ecological solutions. And on the purpose of sustainability, yes, there are a lot of meanings that are being modeled to the purposes of those that use them. But actually, sustainability, it's all about autonomy. It's all about independence. So if you see in any nation, the first date, the most important date, it's the Independence Day.
Yes.
So yeah, actually, so sustainability should be for every one of us, actually. Our Independence Day. If we are sustainable, then we don't need those that are actually taking our wealth away or our health away also. So sustainability, it's not needing so much the big corps of fuels. Sustainability, it's not needing so much the food retailers. Sustainability is not needing so much those house builders that have all our houses full of moist and molds, sustainability. Yeah, actually, sustainability, it's being able to provide your own needs, actually, and in a way that they are eternally available for you. So if you are not sustainable, then you are spending resources. If you are sustainable, then you are building resources. And every time that you build a resource for yourself and for others, you will be more powerful, way more powerful than power of politicians is. So that's pretty much what I could say about sustainability. Carl,
I'm so glad you did. That was fantastic, because sustainability, you could say, as be, swapping your plastic bag for a bag for life. And this is how people, there's nothing wrong with that. Every little gesture helps. But I love how deep you've gone with it there. And we are certainly talking the same language as you. We're launching a feature on Thursday called Indie Portugal, where we want to celebrate the independent brands. We want to help people move away from the corporations. I mean, it's pretty serious at the moment, isn't it? The level of corporate. I was going to use the word interference in our lives, but I love what you're saying there. Sustainability is about independence, and when you're truly sustainable, you're not just consuming; you're actually growing something. Now, this is quite a big aim, isn't it? How is it going, and what are you practically doing in Portugal, and how can people get involved in that?
Well, it actually goes step by step. Baby steps would be the perfect strategy for each every one of us. So if we go one step at a time, then we are building our house of sustainability, our house of independence, brick by brick. Starting by the foundation. So if you want to be sustainable, yes, you can start over your bag for life. Then you are independent of buying a new bag every time that you go to the supermarket. So that's a pretty good metaphor for everything else. So once you build a constellation, not for using Mrs. M words. Now, if you use a constellation of sustainable facts, of sustainable resources, then you will be creating a new universe of life,
Yeah.
a new reality of life, in which you actually will only need to be there for others and see what others can have for you, not really needing every time that we move. Actually, we need to go to the petrol station. Every time that we eat, we need to go to the supermarket. And if we actually manage to find ways, and there are a lot of ways, yes, there are ways that we can also not go to the petrol station. It is called biogas, and it's being
Mm.
done in the third world, on developing countries. So what you can see, for example, with this example on developing countries, that they are doing and that we are not, then we can see how much big corps are interfering in our own lives. And then we
Yeah.
can, yeah, it's amazing. They are the developing countries. We should be the first world, but they are the ones that are pushing this technology, this sometimes even basic and primitive technology that really goes a long way in people's lives, empowering communities, empowering women, empowering disabled people. So that's pretty much our step by step that we should go, realizing that every aspect of our first world, well developed country reality is being taken from us, or is being taken over for us, as we also accept it in a very comfortable way, because then we
Mm.
don't need to bother about it. Once consciousness goes on that level, then we can actually, within the community, start building a lot of resources that allow us not to depend so much on big corps that actually don't really work for our well-being.
Yes, indeed.
Love that.
Go on. Do you want to ask a question? Because I do.
Yeah, I do as well.
Go on, you go ahead.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say how much I love your name, sort of combining ecology and solution,
Mm,
because lots of people make a bold step in doing something ecological, but doesn't
mm,
necessarily fit into a bigger pattern. And I think, doing something ecological for the sake of it, rather than thinking in terms of what does this link into? How does that link into that? How does that link into that? Then you're missing a trick. Like, with our chickens, I noticed that some of their waste yesterday when I was holding the bucket,
mm,
it was so warm. It was really, really warm, and it was a rainy day and there's heat there. How can we
mm,
use that? And so I think you're obviously working in a very connected way with what you know and do. And I see that connection as being excellent.
mm.
So that wasn't so much a question, more an appreciation of you.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
and
Thank
we
you so
want
much.
you back. We want you back in a residency, basically. What you said. Now, can we put this into some sort of context and perspective here? Because a lot of people are moving to Portugal now. Foreigners, immigrants, expats, call them what you will, and you may have a view on that. And we're keen to know how we
Mhm,
can be excellent and extraordinary expats, making a good contribution,
mhm,
and not making a nuisance of ourselves in the country that we have moved
Yeah.
to be part of and that we love. And so there's that part of it. How as specifically as foreigners can we be? I'm not going to use the phrase net zero because as it's that has its
mhm,
its own sort of
mhm,
connotations. But how can we be less impactful, appropriate, sustainable as foreigners moving in? And what are we moving into? In Portugal, for a lot of us where we've come from, this is an amazing, beautiful country, and we think this is so fantastic. What the things we couldn't do back home, we can do here, like live in a less impactful way and a more sustainable way, maybe grow more food and those sorts of things.
mhm,
And then you talk to Portuguese people, and they're sometimes quite disgusted about the situation in Portugal, about how the government is, how the corporations are taking over, and so on. Could you talk to that and the picture that we're
Mm.
moving into, and how we can be great foreigners?
Okay, let me start by the end. Portuguese do complain a lot, and every time that they are complaining, they're actually not doing anything.
Mm.
So maybe we should also be compassive about all this complaining, and realize that we have a big heritage of fascism that it had actually culturally made us not do anything. Otherwise we would be in trouble. So it still is here after 40 years, and we should also okay. We know how Portuguese culture is, complaining a lot and not doing so much, and that's okay because new generations are coming, and these new generations are really full of energy, and they don't feel so much that old heritage. So on my generation, every father was still living on the fascism. On the new generation, not, you know. So
Yes.
things are changing, and
Yeah.
that's how sociological is. So some changes will only become available generationally, so generation after generation, and that is something that we actually need to also to accept. So, but I would say that the most sustainable way, even economically profitable way, is do not move to the cities, move
Mm.
rather to the fields. Because if you buy a house in one of the major cities or in Algarve, then you can maybe buy three, one for you and another one for each one of your kids. You know, so that's how much that there is a huge difference on prices between cities and fields. And on the city, will be extremely hard, if not impossible, to be sustainable. You
Yes.
know, houses are already made. Another situation that I could actually tell you that's the way is if you can buy a plot of field in which you're building your own house, will be almost for sure cheaper than remaking or how would you say that once you buy a house that it's totally a wreck, you know, and then
Mm.
rebuild. Exactly, sorry.
Yeah.
So instead of rebuilding houses that have huge structural and sustainability problems, it's way a lot better if you create your own without all those problems. You know, all that moist, all that insulation, all the electric infrastructure. So if you really want to be sustainable, I would absolutely start on energy. You know,
Yes.
energy is not going down, the prices, they're just going up and up and up. So
Mm.
from zero, from scratch, you really need to put it on a paper, your sustainability housing plan, in a way that you start by the energy. And energy, it's not only solar. Okay,
Mm.
it's pretty much what Ursula von der Leyen is saying. We need a menu of energies. Okay,
Mm.
actually, so we need solar, we need wind. If we have a stream of water, then we would perfectly have also water generation, very low profile, so highly sustainable. It's not killing fish, it's not retaining waters, it's just profiting the flow of your stream. And if you manage to have biogas, okay, and I'm not, at least for now, a reseller of home biogas. I think it's an Israeli company. Then you should from start, because from 1999 that every house in China outside from the cities is having a biodigester. And why?
Mm.
Because it would be extremely expensive for the Chinese government to have all the sewage to treat, and all the double TP stations to treat all those waters, you know. So what they have been doing since already 24 years from now is obliging every constructor to create a biodigester in every each house that it's not on
Wow.
the cities. You know why? Because all your food scraps, all your leftovers from your food garden, all the manure from your chickens, all
Mm.
your own manure, and from the toilets, will be going to generate energy. You know, generating energy for you to heat up your shower, generating energy for you to heat up your meal. That energy can be also converted to electricity. So once you have this energy menu, then you will actually not have the need of having lithium or lead acid batteries. You know, lithium is actually, I'm sorry to say that, but it's truth. It's one of the major causes nowadays of massive habitat destruction. Okay, and it's not only on the mountain that is being that is being extracted. It's until 250 kilometers away. If it's near a water stream, and will always be near a water stream because they need really tons of water to be able to thermally separe the lithium. Okay, so that is the problem of lithium. But if you think about bleed acid, okay, maybe bleed acid it's not such a big hassle to produce, but then it's not recyclable. The only thing that you can do with bleed acid it's dump. You know, it's just bury it somewhere, hoping that it will not go to the water wells and to the watersheds. You know, so not having batteries, it's actually the best thing for you, because if you do have a battery, you will need to buy another one. And once that goes spent, you will need to buy another one, and then another one, and then another one. So the way that you can have the most sustainable energy, it's this menu, and use it in a micro scale, just the same way that every country is using it on a macro scale. So you need to put energy available on your network, and then use that energy from your network. Yes, it's true, there is always a bit of waste, because you always need a bit more energy producing and putting on the network than the one that you're using. It is true. But then you could also maybe invite these guys knowing a lot about Tesla. It will just go again to all these fields that we do not see, but actually all the air is full of electricity. Our table, our chair, ourselves, we are full of electricity. Our heart moves on millivolts, you know. So life is all about electricity. It's not being wasted. It's just being going to be able to then transform in another being, in another field, in another gravitational also a wave. So it's not being wasted, just being liberated. But if you want to start your sustainable life in Portugal, think about not buying already made house. Think about in building your own house, because this way you can also have your perfect house. Okay, so the house that I need, it's not absolutely the house that you need and anybody else's needs, you know. So once you start putting on a paper all your needs, you will find solutions for your housing, for your housing desires, and for your housing solutions, you know. And then after energy, it's absolutely about food, about the energy. When I'm talking about energy, I'm not only talking about a generation of energy. I'm talking about insulation. Okay, I'm also talking about not spending too much energy. I'm talking about not having old fridges that spend just 3 times more than the new fridges. I'm talking about not having the old vacuum cleaners that spend 4 or 5 times more than the new ones. You know, so it's always thinking about every problem and putting on the paper every problem that you always add in your life, in your housing, and then you will find that for each one of them, you will find a now readily available solution technologically, and sometimes that technology it's even simpler than the one before. You know, so after energy, then we go to food. Okay, and food, it's great because it's not only on the budget that it goes. Okay, yes, it goes on the budget, but that's not the biggest turnover or paycheck that you get from food. What you get from food is purity, it's clearness, it's the sureness that your food is pure. You know, that your food is not contaminated. And even on biological food, there are a lot of ways for food to get contaminated. So if we are using plastic to put this nice bag of plastic around the food, there will be microplastics. You know, not on your food garden, there won't be microplastics. Okay, it's also possible and even desirable not having micro watering systems with plastic. It's also extremely possible to have old systems that come from the Roman times, in which there will be very little waste of water, as the water is going again to your well, and it's not evaporating to the atmosphere. It's going again to your well, and it's not making your plants dependent on that watering on a very shallow level of the ground. Then your roots can go deeper, and as the roots go deeper, the food goes higher. So
Yeah.
and food is actually the second step of being highly sustainable and really healthy, and also really wealthy, in a way that you can nearly not buy that food on a money level, exchange level, because the quality that your food has, the moment that you extract it from the ground, that you crop it from the ground, and then you eat it, it's such a greatness. That is why that the first sin of humanity was taking the food from the tree and eat it
Yeah.
on that moment. Okay, so on this society level, then we can understand why is that the first sin. That's the first sin because that's actually the best thing that you can do for you, for your health, and also for your inner health. Okay, and then on a third level, that's why you can't. It's something that it's very hard for money to buy. Maybe if you go to a tourism, rural tourism, or nature tourism that has a fruit garden. But the thing is that once you do gardening, you will never need spiritual counseling or psychological. Actually, yeah, it's true. You're
That's so
connected,
true.
Yeah, tell me.
Before you came on, and I was saying about everything gets harder when you migrate somewhere. There are extra stresses on you. One thing that has really saved me and our relationship, I would say, Carl, is being able to just be in the garden and dig and sow seeds, and then marvel at all the tastes of all the things that are growing, and it's just it's such a blessing. We absolutely love it. I'm actually going to have to go now, but sending you loads of love. Where are you based, João?
I'm based in Fundão, that is Cova da Beira, okay? But actually I work all around the country, but my
Wow.
base and the House of Ecolution is in Fundão, where we are developing this active education program.
Wow.
It's what we need. We don't need any more those lectures and those theoretical workshops and speaks. No, we actually need to put some dirt in our nails, some dirt in
Perfect.
our hands, and be
I've always got
another animal of the ecosystem. So
Yeah.
that was why you felt so good, because you became once again an animal on the ecosystem. And there is not in any place of nature there is unemployment. Only in humanity. No, it's a fact. It's a fact.
Yeah,
Only
no, I
humans
agree.
are unemployed.
Yeah.
So any animal or any plant or any fungi or any bacteria is unemployed. They always know what to do by each given moment.
Yeah.
So that is why it's so strong, the feeling of making your own garden. It's because you once again you release yourself from those chains of culture, and you become once again the animal that we are.
Yes. Amen to that.
Marvelous. Before we
Right.
go,
I'm going
hold
to
on.
leave you.
Can you because we've had best show ever from Sarah this morning. Thank you, João, for being here.
Yeah.
Love this show, says Owen. And why Mrs. M likes being out in the garden is because she can imagine burying Carl in there. I'm sure that's not true. Plants don't
Our
argue.
beds aren't deep enough, are they?
No, she's obviously been thinking about it. Bye, Mrs. Yeah, she said, can you make some deeper raised beds? Bye, Mrs. M. So see you later, love. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Much
Ciao,
appreciated.
ciao.
You.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
There she goes. Oh, she removed herself there. And we've got Em to bring on in just a moment as well. I'd love you to meet Mama Bear McGowan talking about death and dying today, because she wants to talk about composting of bodies, which I think is not possible in Portugal at the moment. I'm aware we've only got a few minutes left in talking to you today, João. The first thing I want to ask you after what you've said is, will you come back?
Yes, of course. I'm there. Accept me on the team, and we'll be a team.
Yeah,
sure.
Fantastic. And I think it'll be so wonderful to see some examples of this, because often what people need is the inspiration of seeing other people doing this. I think you've inspired a few people this morning already with what you've been saying, and it would be lovely to see these projects in action and help empower people, and we can get the photos and the video of this actually happening. What occurs to me is you are asking people, inviting people, possibly inspiring people to live in a different way. It would appear we can't just keep expecting science, innovation, entrepreneurialism to help us just keep living the way we are. It's not really working, is it? So, am I right in assuming that we do have to maybe analyze and adapt the way we live? And actually, the options you're giving are actually far better for us as individuals and as a collective.
No, that is for sure. So obviously, that anyone that buys an electric car is having concerns with the environment.
Mm,
Obviously,
yeah.
absolutely. So otherwise, nobody would buy a more expensive car that has this question of batteries that will run out, and then another. So if that person is not concerned with the environment, the thing is that do not expect that the industry will educate you about all the impacts of the product. Do not expect that. That's a work that you need to do for yourself, and also with institutions like ours. That's why we are also here. We are not against any industry. We are here for helping also those industries to find better solutions in which their impact is not so high. And it's not only the impact on the environment, it's also the impact on communities, because if you impact the environment, if you impact the resources, you will impact the communities.
Mm.
So did I answer to your question? Did I answer
You,
your question?
you did, and Pete brings something up here. Peter's put a few questions, and he's a neighbour of yours in Fundão. I think, making the remark that a lot of Roundup is used in Portugal. There is work to be done, and I'm very interested in how you have the idea that your vegetable garden is not polluted. I think what you were saying is it's less polluted, right? And it's about in which direction we're travelling rather than
Absolutely.
being holier than
Yeah.
thou, like that.
Yes, absolutely, Carl. But it's also very possible and inexpensive, and part of the design of a living ecosystem, that you implement a lot of solutions that depollute your ground, and that will defend you from things like glyphosate and all that very carcinogenic stuff
Yes.
that is being sold, and is being even taxed over. And so it's really this topic, the society that we live in, and
Yes.
it's all about ignorance. So I do not believe that a politician is allowing that without with believing actually that they are creating cancer, but they are. Yes, once you build, so if you want to be sustainable, if you want to have this high grade quality of life, then you need to build an ecosystem. Okay, we are still learning how to behave and interact with planet Earth. Planet Earth knows it already for millions of years. So if you create in your property all the elements of the ecosystem, like for instance these regenerative edges, so it's a line of trees that really go high also, and as they go high, they harbor a lot of birds. Those birds will be eating your blights. So every time that I see someone on Facebook saying, "Oh, I have all these snails and all these worms eating my," you don't have trees. I'm sorry. If you would have high trees, then all the birds that are eating it. So it's all about the trophic chain. So once you created all these elements of the ecosystem, then you will have this what we called rhizo or root barriers. It's root barriers that once the pollution is going inside the ground, then you will have these roots stopping them. Okay,
Yeah.
and these roots with microorganisms will be degrading that pollution. Okay, and even fast annual herbs will be depolluting that field. So it's all about creating the same elements that a pristine ecosystem has, for you to be able to have really unpolluted food or nearly unpolluted food.
Yeah. I think we can't be completist about this, can we? Like, either or, and this is all the problems of our time, isn't it? This sort of polarity, duality. I think the important thing is to be heading in the right direction, and offering alternatives, and for people to be able to freely choose. And I think that is one of the challenges we've got, is that whilst people might be able to see an option, they might not be able to freely choose and put it into practice because of how things are set up. So I'm hoping that we can see those practical examples, that will talk with you more, because I've got to bring Em on in just a moment to talk about death and dying, which is
The cycle. It's the cycle.
the cycle of life,
Exactly.
and it's all part of what it's all connected. How we've been talking this morning, but we've scratched the surface and set the scene. Talking of scratching the surface, apparently, whenever you bury a body, cover it with endangered plants because it's illegal to dig them up. There's a solution. I think that's maybe some advice for Mrs. M there. But João Oliveira of Mushmore.net. It has been so great to meet you this morning.
It has been great to talk to you.
I just said, will you come and be on the show? And you said, yeah, of course. And here we are. We didn't really talk very much. I just had a feeling it would be great to talk to you. And that has certainly been the case for me. I think you've made quite an impression on some of the other people here this morning as well, and Mrs. M. So do please come back. Let's keep in touch, and let's see what we can do. Yeah, why don't we look at some sort of practical projects that we can document and share over time, and really see how this can all be put into practice and how much fun it is, because that's the other thing, isn't it? The thing you were talking about, it's not all just worthiness, is it? Or being correct, being environmentally correct, spiritually correct, everything. This is actually has the ring of truth and vitality and well-being about it, as far as I'm concerned, and from what I've experienced of what you're talking about.
Well, I couldn't say that better. It's all about action. Words are needed to create a concept that we can understand in our minds. But the only way, actually, that you understand and comprehend, it's by doing. And that's the only way of learning. The only complete way of learning that I know of. And once you do it once you learn by action, then you will become another agent of this ecosystem that sustains us. That's all about it. Words are fine, words are great for our mind to understand, but the only way to complete the cycle, like life and death, it's by doing. Okay. Thank you, Carl, so much. Thank you, Carl,
so much. Look at this. You're a legend. Thank you for sharing. Obrigado, João, as well, from Owen. So we look forward to seeing you again. You better have some of this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao. Bye for now.